Hola YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Darieny, and if you're new here, bienvenidos. Today's video is going to be the video that I promised you guys a few videos ago, and it is the arrest video. In this video, I am going to be talking about the time that I got locked up, but they let me out. And I know that when I mentioned the idea of me making this video, I did say that one of the reasons why I didn't want to make this video is because I don't want people to judge me. I'm not making this video because I want to glamorize what I did. I want to make this video because I feel like some people could possibly relate to what I went through or what happened with me. And also I want to be able to hopefully be an example for other people to not do what I did. So if you have something negative to say about what I am going to be sharing, keep it to yourself, because I honestly don't want to hear that shit. I am simply here to share my story, and I am also simply here to share my side of the story from what I can remember, because I came to the realization that I have the right to tell my story. And if I can do that and have young girls use me as an example, I do not have a problem with it. So let's get into the video. For the record, yes, I was arrested when I was 15 or 16 years old for shoplifting, and I was put on probation for it. So before I get into the details of the video, I want to just give you guys a little bit of backstory so you guys can understand where I was at mentally when everything happened. So as you guys know, I am from Guatemala. I was born and raised out there. I came here when I was 12 going on 13 years old. And prior to coming to this country, my mom pretty much gave us like the lowdown of things to not do in this country that could land you in trouble. And one of the things was stay out of trouble, because the United States Police Department, or just the United States justice system in general, it's completely different from what I'm used to back home. Like back home, our justice system is very lenient, to say the least. So coming to this country, I was terrified of the police and stuff like that. And being in the States and having interactions with the police, I realized that the police in this country are meant to help the public, but there are instances where that is not the case, and we see it especially now a lot on social media. And like I was saying, in terms of me getting in trouble, I was terrified of getting in any type of trouble, because I was under the impression that if I was to get into any little trouble, I'm going to jail. So in high school, I had a small circle of friends, and eventually I met my best friend, who is still my best friend to this day. And after some time, it was pretty much myself, my best friend, and a third person. The third person, I don't know her financial situation, but I could say that the third person was a very fashionable girl, and she always cared about her appearance and stuff like that. Eventually, she started to, in a way, judging how I and my best friend looked. And I, to this day, don't know if her way of thinking was malicious or not. But this specific friend who used to always, like, you know, try to give us little hints on like what to wear or what we could do to look better, blah, 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 blah. One day after school, I think my third friend, matter of fact, let me make some names for the three people in the story. Eventually it will be two, but it was myself, my best friend. I don't need to name her because I'll just call her my best friend. And then we had the third person, who I am going to call Kiandra. So one day after school, from what I can remember, I believe Kiandra suggested that we go downtown Manhattan to look for something. I think she needed to grab something. I cannot remember, but we ended up going to Times Square, and we ended up at Forever 21. And any other time prior to that, whenever we used to go out and she needed to grab something, we would just go with her for the heck of it to kill some time. She would get what she want and we would observe. And on this specific day, we went to Forever 21 and Keandra wanted to try on some stuff. And I believe my best friend wanted to also try a tank top or something on. And in order for all of us to go into the fitting room, we all decided to grab something so we could be all allowed in the fitting room. So Keandra grabbed what she needed to grab. My best friend grabbed something, and I think I grabbed a bra. We ended up going to the fitting room. We tried the things on. I liked the bra that I tried on, but I couldn't afford it. And the bras did not have the sensors for the alarm. And Keandra decided that if I wanted the bra, then I could take it without paying for it. So we put the bra in my bag, and that's how this whole thing started. So it started with us taking something as little as a bra, and then it graduated to a little necklace or an accessory piece. We started at Forever 21, and eventually there was a drift between my best friend and I and Keandra, and my best friend and I started to hang out with each other without Keandra. So fast forward to the day where the arrest happened. On this fateful day, my best friend and I decided to go downtown, Times Square to be exact, after school. So we went to a few stores. I cannot remember the names. I do know that one of them was Forever 21, and my best friend wanted to go to Sephora to grab something, I believe, for her skin. So we went to Sephora. I didn't need to grab anything, I don't believe, but I was on the lookout. So while she was, grabbing whatever she needed to grab, I was pretty much making sure that there was no staff near her or there was no security guard watching her. She grabbed what she grabbed. I think she grabbed either one item or two items. And I think I grabbed one item, or I didn't grab any items at all. I cannot remember. But when we were all done, we were exiting the store. And if you guys are not familiar with the Sephora in Times Square, I believe is one of the bigger Sephoras in the city, and it has a revolving door for you to come in and out of. When we were exiting Sephora, I went first, and my best friend was a few feet behind me. I would like to say about 10-15 feet behind me. I made it through the revolving doors. I exited the store, and then I turn around to see where my best friend is at, and I see this guy wearing all black, and obviously he was a security guard. He grabbed my best friend and he was pulling her, and she was calling out for me. And at that moment, I had to make a decision: either stick by my best friend or flee. To this day, I don't regret my decision. I decided to stay by my best friend's side. So little old me decided to go through the revolving doors again, and I went inside of the Sephora. And the security guard asked me, "Are you with her?" And I said, "Yes, that's my friend." And he said, "Well, we have to take you upstairs because we think that you guys were stealing." Oh my God. At this very moment, panic starts to run through my body. Like, I was freaking out. There was no going back. I cannot leave the store now. So the guy takes us upstairs to some floor because they watched us on surveillance video shoplifting. He said that. I was dumbfounded. I was lost, and I was scared. And my best friend was trying to put up a fight, letting the guy know that no, but at this point there was no point in trying to hide it. So we were just all right, this is it. So the guy ended up opening our bags, and he confiscated the stuff, and he pretty much said that if we did not have a way of paying for the items, then we had to deal with the police. And a few minutes later, the police officers show up, and they were talking to the security guard. The security guard was explaining to them what happened, and they said, we got to take you guys in. This whole thing happened within a few minutes, but it felt like forever. And one of the police officers was nice, and the other one was kind of a dickhead. So the one that was mean said, well, we gotta take them in. And the other police officer was like, okay, we gotta handcuff you guys and blah blah blah. So they did, you know, the whole shebang. And I used to watch Law and Order, so you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to jail. They proceed to let us know that, you know, we're being arrested for whatever reason, and that they were going to take us to the precinct and all this stuff. So they put us in handcuffs, and those handcuffs hurt. Okay, those things were so painful, and that wasn't even the end of it. We are cuffed. The police officers are telling us that we are going to the precinct, and the security guard is telling us, oh, you guys are not welcomed here anymore. Y'all cannot come back to this store. And I was just thinking the whole time about my mom, how she's gonna react when I even tell her. Like, I was messed up. So then after that, the police proceed to take us to the first floor and escort us out of the facility and into the car. And if you guys are not familiar with Times Square is a very busy place. People are always there. There's a whole bunch of tourists. So just imagine the amount of foot traffic that was going on at the time. And this was around, I believe, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. We are going to the revolving doors, and I just felt like everybody that was walking past Sephora was staring at us, and that was so embarrassing. So the police, they put us in the car, and although the handcuffs were hurting, it was way more uncomfortable when you had to sit in the back of a police car with your hands behind your back. Oh my God. And the ride from Sephora to the precinct that we went to were just a few minutes, but it felt like forever. And the whole time I'm contemplating in my head what's about to happen to me, what my mom is about to do to me when she finds out. I was freaking the hell out. We make it to the precinct. They walk us in, still in handcuffs. They put us in a little cell. There were 2 additional girls in the cell that they put us in. My best friend and I were freaking out this whole time. And the 2 girls that were there, they were having the time of their lives. And I was just confused. Like, you don't see that we are about to go to jail and you're over here kiki ha ha. Obviously, there's some type of disconnect. My best friend and I are not saying a word. We were looking at each other like we are in deep trouble, and the 2 girls start questioning us about what just happened to us, and they pretty much assumed that we were there for shoplifting. They were laughing and they were like, oh, you guys have nothing to worry about. We were also shoplifting at H&M. I don't remember if they said 42nd or 34th Street, and they pretty much said that they almost walked out of H&M with almost $600 worth of product. My best friend and I were just looking at each other like, what the heck? That is a bit extreme, as if what we were already doing was not extreme, but just hearing that is like, what the heck? And you guys are just here laughing about it. Anyway, few minutes later, a female officer comes in, and she takes me. She's taking my fingerprints, and she took my picture, and the whole time she's trying to talk to me and have me calm down, and she's telling me, oh, you look like a good girl, this is not you. And you would feel better about hearing something like that, but in this specific scenario, it makes you feel like complete shit, because what this woman is saying is completely the truth. Like, this is not me. I'm supposed to be a good girl, and I am getting my mugshot taken, and I'm getting my fingerprints taking? Like, what? So the lady continued to question me, and she was asking me if this was my first time, and I told her yes, and she was telling me that I look like a good girl and whatever, and she pretty much told me to never get in trouble again. And I told her, you don't even have to worry about that. And I was asking her, like, am I going to go to jail? Am I going to prison? What's gonna happen with me? And she pretty much told me that because of my charge, I'm going to most likely be released, but I still have to go through the procedure. I will have to see a judge, and it's up to the judge whether she sends me to juvie or she lets me go. She advised me that when I do go to the judge, to not be like a rebel, which she didn't have to worry about because I didn't look like one. I don't know what a rebel looks like, but she pretty much told me that when I do in fact go in front of the judge, to be presentable and all this good stuff. And I feel like she said that because I guess if you dress a certain type of way and you behave a certain type of way in front of the judge, they would be more lenient. And the officer also told me that no matter what time I get to go in front of the judge, that I should be there as early as possible because I want to catch the judge in a good mood when she hasn't dealt with any difficult people, because that could also affect her decision. And I said, okay, no problem. And then eventually, I think what it felt like forever, but it was probably an hour or two, they let us go and they told us that we're going to receive a letter in the mail stating when we got to see the judge and all this stuff. And I said, okay, fine. So we leave the station, and at the time I didn't have a cell phone, I didn't have any money, and I didn't really know where I was, so I didn't even know how to get home. But luckily the train station was literally less than a block away from the precinct, and thank God for the police officer that coached me to get to the train. So by the time that this whole thing was done, it was probably 8 o'clock going on 9 o'clock. So the first thing that I had to take care of was get to a payphone, because I need to call my mom, because my mom is the type of parent that if you're not home by a certain time, chances are something happened to you. So I needed to get a payphone to call my mother to let her know that I was okay and to let her know that I was on my way home. Luckily for me, the lady police officer that processed me asked me if I needed to call any of my relatives, and I said yes, I need to call my mom, and I don't have any phone or any money for the pay phone. And she pretty much allowed me to use a phone, and I called my mom letting her know that I was all right and that I was on my way home and that I lost track of time, but I was headed home. I got home and I didn't know what to tell my mom, so I went straight to my bed, and my mom is like,
"You disrespectful little thing, you gotta come in this house and not tell me where you were? Like, what's going on with you?"
And I was so ashamed. I didn't know what to tell my mom. And when this all happened, I lived in the Bronx, and my cousin lived literally 2 or 3 buildings down from me. And because I knew that Sephora was going to send mail to my house and the police was also going to send me mail, I decided to give them my cousin's address, because if I put my address, the way my mom is set up, if I'm a minor, she has the right to open every and anything that's going to arrive with my name on it. So I was smart enough to put my cousin's address just until I figure out how I'm gonna tell my mom. I ended up telling my cousin what happened, and she said, well, you're gonna have to tell your mom, but we have to go about it a smart way. So she said, what we're going to do, we're going to tell your older sister, so your older sister could help you tell your mom, so my mom won't take it as harsh. And I said, okay, let's do that. Sister lives in a completely different state, so I give her a call and I let her know what happened, and she's like, well, you gotta tell mommy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the part that I'm terrified of. Forget being put in handcuffs, forget being put in a cop car in uncomfortable handcuffs. My biggest problem is telling my mom what happens. But luckily my sister helped me tell my mom, and my mom was pissed. Oh my gosh. And my mom is the type of parent that she will guilt trip you. And my mom was like,
I hope they put you in jail so you could learn your lesson and
and I was just like, okay, great. Forget about dealing with the police. I gotta deal with this Tasmanian devil. Anyway, to not make the story any longer than it already is, eventually I went to see the judge, and the judge pretty much said that as long as I stay in good standing and not get in any trouble at all for 6 months, which was my probation period, my case was going to go away, and that they were going to erase it from my record and all this stuff. For my probation time, I had to attend some class. I don't remember, but I had to complete a class, and after I completed that class, they give you like a manual of all the things that pretty much you cannot do, because if you do and you get caught, you will get in trouble. And it was things like jaywalking, and I'm not from this country, so I didn't even know that was illegal in the first place. But the things that I can remember from the list were jaywalking, walking from cart to cart on the subway, spitting on the sidewalk, and little things that you think are normal, they're against the law. So yeah, I was on probation for 6 months, and I was represented by a public attorney or whatever it was. I was given like a public lawyer, and I kept in contact with my lawyer because I needed to make sure that I'm good. So towards the end of the 6 months, I called my lawyer, and to this day I still remember her name. I'm so thankful for her because she enlightened me a lot. Towards the end of the 6 months, I gave her a call, and I told her, asked her if at the end of the 6 months I have to go back to the judge to see what will happen, and she said no. As long as you're in good standing during the 6 months, your case is just going to be closed, sealed, and expunged and all that good stuff. And she did the same thing, asked me to never get in trouble again. And trust me when I tell you, after that experience, I absolutely did not get in any type of trouble. Literally, after that happened, if I didn't have money to buy something, I wouldn't even bother looking in the direction of that item because I was just so traumatized. And honestly, I am very thankful that we got caught, because I feel like although at one point we was gonna put a stop to it, we would have continued, and we would have continued to bigger things or things that are more valuable. So I am grateful that we did get caught, because it did teach me a lesson. And even to this day, what happened to me helps me see things differently, helps me move differently. When my little sister tells me she wants something, I try my best to get it for her, because I don't want her to be in a predicament where she wants something and she does not have the money to pay for it, and even consider, taking it without consent. So I am glad that I got caught. It was definitely a lesson learned for the both of us, for my best friend and for myself. And here I am, I think 9-10 years later, I'm here trying to be a model citizen. And yeah, so that was my story. And this was the time when I got arrested. I was put on probation for it, and I learned my lesson for sure. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave this video a thumbs up, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I hope that this video served more of a lesson instead of creating judgment. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Ciao.